the Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
E-A-T-L-E-S, Eagles!
Swing of the miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers are going to win the Stanley Cup. The Flyers win the Stanley Cup for the lead. Yes!
Iverson, wow, what a fake off Daniels as he broke his ankles and got all the way to the cup.
Oh, well, welcome in. It is episode 118. Today we're fired up on the Fightins, man. Listen, if the weather and the Phillies could kind of merge together and kind of do the same thing, we'd be in a whole different conversation. But Eric, good morning. Welcome in. Let's talk some Phils.
Yeah, Don, let's talk some Phils here. So actually, just while we were about to cut in, I saw the lineup card came out, and
What
looks
do
like
we got?
Well, Stott was leading off.
Okay.
So that was the change there, and I think that was something a lot of people were kind of calling for after Schwarber's last couple of games here. It went away on my phone now, so now I'm trying to lock it back up. But it was Stott, Turner. So I'm just happy to kind of see that change. Here we go. Stott, Turner, Harper, Castellanos, Schwarber, Romuto, Bohm, Marsh, Sosa. That is the exact lineup I was kind of hoping for once we saw Harper coming back. So that is that's good news. I think that shakes things up a little bit there.
Listen, I think if you can get that lineup to be productive, I mean, considering where those guys are going to slot, I mean, you're solid almost to like the 7 spot. That lineup has to produce runs for you.
It does. Yeah. And that's the problem. I mean, right now, the lineup just isn't doing it. I mean, Schwarber's going to heat up. I'm not concerned about him yet. I know he's taken a lot of flack, especially being the leadoff spot. But I think a guy who's, he's went 0 for 5, I think, in his last 2 games. He's like 0 for his last 20 something. Really shouldn't be setting the table for you right now, especially with what Stott was doing out of the leadoff spot. So he'll heat up. We got about 3 weeks or so until June. So
yeah,
the countdown's on.
Yeah, no, I think when I didn't understand the move to move Stott out of the top of the lineup just never made a ton of sense to me, considering how productive he was to start the season. Even if he wanted to mix stuff up, for him as a young guy with as much success as he had, as consistent as he was, it felt like it was like changing something just to change it, not changing something for it to be productive.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't understand the change. If Schwarber was getting on base or whatever. Now, last year he hit okay out of the leadoff spot in a couple different places. I know people argue with batting average and everything out of the leadoff spot, but it worked at times, especially when he's heating up. It's nice to start off a game with that. If he hits a leadoff home run, it's nice to start off the game with a lead there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Stott didn't do anything to warrant being dropped down, I think. And I know Thompson's argument in the beginning with the change was that that Stott's hitting the ball hard, and that's what you want out of the 5th spot, which I guess is fine. But the problem was people weren't getting on in front of that, so it didn't really make a difference. I think having Stott set the table is definitely more beneficial. Then Turner seems to be, he's had his struggles over the last couple of weeks, but with the double home run last night, hopefully he's starting to see the ball a little bit better now. And Bryce, for coming back so quickly from injury there, he had that first game in LA that wasn't great, but after that, dudes looked locked in. So
yeah, listen, he's essentially done everything that you really need him to do, between getting him on base, between getting him getting other players productive at bats. I think the one game he was on base 5 times in one game. Like, he's doing everything that you would expect him to do, right? It's almost like he had the first couple games, the 2 games in LA to kind of knock off the rust before coming home. I think, to me, you look at a lineup where Real Muto is going to hit 6th. That's a really, really productive lineup. And then even the guys at the back end of that lineup, right? You're going to have Marsh and Sosa, and those guys have been productive. Those guys are guys that are able to kind of turn the lineup over, where they're going to get guys on base, so that when Stott, Turner, and Harper come up, those are not empty at bats. Those are at bats where they can get runs. It just, to me, I can't figure out what this lineup is missing. What is happening where they're not able to be productive, because they have the bats to be able to get this lineup runs, to get this team runs, to get this team support, and it's just not it's just, at this point in the season, it's just not translating to runs.
No, and offenses kind of always do go through that. But yeah, I mean, you look, it's pretty deep. I think the one thing we're missing clearly is Hoskins' bat in there. Whether he was in one of his cold streaks or on one of his hot stretches, he just changes how a pitcher has to kind of look at the lineup. And again, Sosa's had good games. I think he's getting a little bit exposed as, not necessarily always being like an everyday player. I think what we saw from him as, that super utility role, where he was playing, 4 times a week or something was great. But I think he's getting exposed a little bit. And having, obviously just switching out that bat versus Hoskins' bat is huge there. But there are enough in this lineup, just looking at it right here on the screen, that should be able to make things happen. Like you said, the fact that Realmuto's hitting 6th, Bohm, who's shown a lot of hitting potential between last year and this year, hitting 7th, and then Marsh, who's leading the league in triples, and as of a week or two ago was leading the league in OPS and even high up there in batting average. So the fact that he's down there in your 8th spot is it's definitely a lineup that has potential. It's just they got to get clicking all at the same time here, or at least having a few guys do that, because we're having Harper set the table. We saw Castellanos knock in Harper a few times in LA, and even 2 nights ago, the first game in Boston, we had some of that too. So the potential's there. It's just they got to start clicking.
Yeah, it's wild, and it's hard because you and I have talked earlier about, like, this is early, right? It's still early in the season, but you can only say it's early in the season for so long. And I think once this, my real assessment for this team is going to be at the end of June, right? Because you're going to be approaching the middle, that middle of the summer where in this ballpark, the ball jumps out of the park, and you have a lineup with a lot of guys that, between Turner, Harper, Castellanos, Schwarber, Realmuto, those are 5 guys that can really, really mash the ball and really get run production. I think for me, I'm looking at the guys that are really, really, the guys that you're getting paid, the guys that are getting paid, those are guys that really have to step it up and really be productive. But I'm going to give them until the end of June. I'm going to try to hold off on being really critical of these guys, but I also don't want to be in a position where I'm constantly making excuses for them. They have to start producing runs, which I think could be like on the verge of it. It seems like, you get home runs from Harper and Turner last night, but they're solo home runs, right? They're home runs with. And this is the same thing we complained about with Schwarber last year, right? A lot of his, because he was in the leadoff spot, a lot of his home runs were solo home runs where you're not maximizing the run production that you could get if these guys were on base.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just been, I think the word is just frustrating, right? I mean, because we see the potential's there. As you just said, we talked about it last time, but it is still early on, right? There's time to correct this. We saw it last year. Where it took until June to really kind of turn things around. And I'm with you there. I think waiting till the middle or end of June before you really start hitting that panic button. I mean, I'm not panicking yet. It's frustrating to watch. Going out to LA and getting swept and losing the way we did in LA was just agonizing. And then, coming home facing Chris Sale, who is, a shell of what he used to be, Corey Kluber, who the fact that we only scored 3 runs off him last night was a little mind-boggling. But yeah, I mean, like you said, there's no one getting on base, so you're getting these solo home runs. But it doesn't matter when your starting pitchers are giving up 4 or 5 runs every time they're going out. So
Right.
it's a give and take here, because it's partially the lineup, and I'm sure we'll get to it in a little bit. But the starting pitching has been a doozy so far.
Yeah, and it's been rough. And here's the frustrating part, right? Because I'm looking at the schedule. Between April 18th and April 29th, they lose 3 games in that 11-game stretch.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, right, they have not won. Right, they haven't won a game since April 30th.
Yep.
Which is like, I don't understand how it can be as inconsistent as it is. It's just
Yeah.
It's just that part is just really, really frustrating.
Yeah, it's been very frustrating with that.
But so let's go starting pitching, right? Because that's something. Yeah, I'll let you take the lead on that one, because that's something that I've seen in some of your articles on Fired Up. So talk about the starting pitching.
So I guess I go start off with the bad news first. So looking at just
there's not much good news.
There's one thing that I will say toward the end here that might be kind of good news, but
okay.
The bad news is that our starting pitcher that's leading the team in ERA is Zach Wheeler, and he's got a 4.26 ERA. And I think, going in the offseason, if you said that Wheeler was going to have a 4.26 ERA, in the beginning of May, people were going to be a little bit concerned about that. The fact that everyone else is higher than that is really alarming, because Nola, Wheeler were supposed to be our the 2 guys. Wheeler usually right around a 3 ERA. Nola's always a little bit higher because he gives up the home runs, but he's consistent and gives you innings and strikeouts and all that. Nola maybe steadying a little bit. His last couple of games have looked a little bit better. Wheeler they both kind of have the same thing, though. It's that they can start a game well, or Nola might start a game poorly and then settle back in, but they always have an inning where they just blow up, and they cannot avoid the blow up inning right now. And even Falter last night. Falter was perfect through 3 innings and then blows up in the 4th, right? So it's just they can't keep they just can't keep the team in the game right now, because they keep suffering those blow up innings. Strahm is back in the bullpen for right now because they have a bunch of games off here, so they can kind of skip his turn in the rotation, which works out because they're going to try to get him back into the bullpen anyway, I think. Because the good news, Ranger Suarez is making what should be, if it goes well, his final rehab appearance today with Lehigh Valley. So if he's back, that should set, if all goes well, that should set him up to pitch, toward the end or probably toward the beginning of next weekend,
right?
Which is going to be a big boost to this rotation. Hopefully getting him back can kind of be a catalyst here, but we really need to see Nola and Wheeler also step up. I think one of the big things that I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say very similar to the lineup, right? The guys that are at the top of your lineup that are really important, those are the guys that we need to step up.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things, and I've been reading about it. I'm sure you've seen it, and everyone who's listening's probably heard this too. But it's really Nola and Wheeler's first time pitching deep into a postseason, right? So they were probably scaled back a little bit in spring training. Their off seasons were probably a little bit different. So maybe it's just taking a little time to ramp up. I mean, again, how long can we make excuses though? It's still early, so we'll see. But it's one of those things that definitely needs to be monitored, because these numbers need to start going down. We need to start eliminating that big inning. That's the thing that's kind of hurt them. It seems like at some point, at least in these last 6 in a row that they've lost, there's always something. They're good for a portion of the time, and then there's something that blows up that really makes them. It puts the game out of reach like almost instantaneously, and then you feel like you're incessantly just kind of like you're trying to like battle back to get your just to get into it, and it's almost like it was like that last night where they give up. They're fighting back the entire game. They never get a chance to really play from ahead, and then you've got the Harper home run. You got the Harper home run, and then the Turner home run. But you never really they felt kind of like ancillary to the game. They were just
kind of things that happened. They weren't things that were catalysts to a crooked number where it kind of puts you back into the game.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like there's always times where with the Phillies, whether it's this season or past seasons where a team just feels out of it if they're down by a lot. And there's other times where we saw with the postseason run last year where it's like this team never felt like they were out of it. Right now, It feels like once they're down 4 runs and you get into the 7th or 8th inning, I'm just like, all right, like hopefully we don't lose by 7. Like let's try to just keep this close, try to chip away at it. But you don't feel like anyone's going to step up and do anything right now. It just seems like the lineup's flat. It seems like the bullpen has been really good. I'm nervous though because right now we're relying on the bullpen to pitch a lot. 5 innings or 4 or 5 innings every single night. They're going to get taxed. It's only May, and how many appearances do some of these guys have? So it's one of those things where I get nervous about that. Because our starting pitchers aren't, and it goes back to starting pitching not doing their job.
And the fact that you've had multiple position players have multiple appearances as a pitcher this early on in the season, right? In one sense, I get it because you don't want to tax those bullpen arms early in games that are incredibly out of reach. But at the same time, we have to kind of reevaluate why are we in that position. What not just say like, yeah, we understand why you're doing it, but like, why are we there? Why are we constantly going back to this place where like there's no reason that Cody Clemens and Josh Harrison should have multiple appearances.
Exactly.
Good morning.
Hey, Kylie.
Kylie,
Hey.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Live and direct. How are you?
I am fan.
So we've been talking, and I'm sure we've been reevaluating the frustration levels from earlier on, like this 6-game losing streak. They have a good stretch where in the middle to the end of April where they're getting they win I think 8 out of 10 going in, and then they lose 6 straight, and just that inconsistency.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's annoying, and the injuries definitely are not helping with the consistency part. I mean, we had a little bit of consistency, and Pache was starting to hit, and then he got hurt, so there goes that. It's all just chaotic right now.
Yeah. So, and then in terms of pitching, right? So Eric was mentioning the idea that like you've got to get consistency from the top end of your rotation because they have to set the table. They have to go deeper into games because the tax on the bullpen is it's gonna culminate at some point. At some point, you're gonna have overused that bullpen so early on in the season that you're gonna lose games later on because you don't have those guys available.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, especially with someone like Strom, who's never pitched more than 100 innings in his entire career except for one season,
right.
And he's been going 5. He's able to go 5, 6, 7 innings this year, and obviously you don't want to take him out if he's doing well. You want to spare the bullpen. So it's all the pitching is just a mess right now. That's the easiest way to describe it.
Well, Cody Clemens is plenty rested now. He hasn't pitched in a couple days. So after his two straight appearances, he should be ready to go.
And listen, I think for me, the most out of that entire 6-game stretch, right? I think for me, the most frustrating loss was that series culminating loss in LA, right? Where they had lost the first 2, and then it's the day game after the night game. They play really well, and then they lose the lead late. They tie it later, and then Kimbrel just implodes at the end of that game, and just that to me was like the backbreaker of all these games that they've lost. That was a game where you could have kind of like stopped the gap for like just give yourself a chance to breathe, to be able to come back home. But now you're mired in a 6-game stretch, and it's not going to get easier, right? Because they're gonna finish the series with the Red Sox today, and then they've got 2 games with the Blue Jays. before, then they're gonna have that 3-game stretch with the Rockies, which hopefully by that point they've kind of turned something around to where they can get to be able to start to string a couple wins together.
Yeah, next weekend I think is going to be big. Just taking advantage of a bad Rockies team in a place where the offense, should theoretically heat up. You were talking about Craig Kimbrell and the blow up on Wednesday in LA, and I've been trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I obviously want him to succeed, but when you have 3 guys in the bullpen in Alvarado, Dominguez, and Soto who just all have better stuff. I understand, sometimes trying to go for the matchups earlier on, so you use those guys, but you have 3 guys that all have better stuff than Kimbrell at this point. Put them in higher leverage situations. I don't know why Kimbrell is pitching there. And then the first pitch, the Muncie Grand Slam. That was never turned a TV off so fast in my entire life.
Yeah, seriously. It was. I don't even know. I didn't know what to say. I was literally like at a loss for words. And I mean, I have everybody that knows me knows I've been high on Kimbrell. I loved him coming here, but I did not want him in that kind of situation. I didn't want him in a closing situation, a high leverage situation like that, at least to start out. And he's been decent-ish, but that Grand Slam, I mean, that was just, it's unacceptable from anybody.
Yeah, leaving a pitch where he left that is just unacceptable. Yeah,
I was just about to say the same thing. when you go back and look at where that pitch was, it essentially was a BP pitch for both. Like it just, and there was no doubt right away. And listen, the thing that worries me, right, is that
was almost as much of a no doubt. Chicago.
Yeah. Listen, and I think the thing that kind of worries me, right, is that like the teams ahead of them are getting healthier, right? The Mets and Braves are getting guys back. I just don't want to be in a position where the Braves just run away and hide because early on in the season, right? The Mets are 6 back, the Marlins are 7 back, the Phillies are 8 back. Like they're all going to be chasing the Braves all season long, and you're going to put yourself in a position really early to not even be in contention for that. And then now you're going to battle the rest of the National League for those 2 wild card spots.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but Atlanta is they're really good. They're going to be tough to beat. Even if we started out doing well, I think they'd still be good. The Mets helped us out a lot because while we got swept by the Dodgers, they were busy getting swept by the Tigers. So that was kind of some solace to our sweep there. But yeah, I mean, and again, as we said, the fact that we're only 2 games back in the division right now, or from the Mets and Marlins and everything, means we're still kind of in striking distance there, and there's still time to turn it around. But yeah, it's going to be tough to catch Atlanta. I mean, they're so deep. Pitching staff's so good, bullpen's so good. At this point, yeah, I mean, not saying I'm giving up on the division, but I kind of going into the season, the Braves were kind of my pick for the NL East anyway. I think we still can, and I going into the season, I thought maybe second place in the NL East, and then maybe a higher wild card spot was definitely in the fold, and I still see that as being a possibility. It's just getting everyone kind of clicking here.
Yeah, Kylie, what do you need out of your boy Taiwan today?
Do
you have the jersey? Did we get it yet? Did we
not
get
yet.
The 99 jersey yet?
Nah, not yet. I did get a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. jersey, and it came in yesterday. Pretty bad timing because we face the Blue Jays next, so it's pretty bad timing.
Listen, I'm a jersey connoisseur, so
same.
My wife is not listening. She's in the next room. But yes,
it's a cheap $20 jersey.
Okay. Hey, listen, but I'm a big Jersey fan, so
yeah, I'm a huge Jersey person, and my cat kind of sat on it as soon as I got it, so it's whatever. But for Taiwan Walker, hopefully, he needs to cut down on the walks. That's a huge problem. He's got to cut down on that. If he cuts down on that, he'll be all right.
he gets into way too many high counts there. And you're right, Kyle. Like, the control's been a major issue for him so far.
Who's the guy that has a bust out game today? Like, if there's a guy that's going to be able to like turn this place upside down and be able to like I'm envisioning today, right? Weather's beautiful, it's warm. Maybe that ball's maybe jumping off the bats a little bit. Like, for some reason, this today feels like they're going to put up like 10 plus but for me, with no logic at all. There's no logic in me that says like they're going to put up 10 runs. But for some reason, like Eric, you were talking, the lineup comes out right as we're starting the show, and I'm looking at the lineup and I'm going, I just see runs. I see a lot of production in the way that the lineup is set right now. So like, for some unknown reason, I'm like, I see like a double-digit run day for today.
With Stott being leadoff again.
Yeah. Stott, I was thinking him. I really like 3, 4, and 6 there. I like Harper's been real hot to start. I like him there. I like Castellanos hitting behind him, and Real Muto has been really heating up after kind of a slow start. But he kind of did that same thing last year. So I'm thinking a big game from JT today.
Awesome. Well, listen, we're gonna take a commercial break. We'll come right back, and then we'll talk some MLB stuff. But hold on, and we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Von C. Brewing Company is a 20-barrel, 16,000 square foot microbrewery with a 2,500 square foot tasting room, including a spacious outside beer garden in Norristown, PA, in the heart of Montgomery County. The Von C. family is part of the family that started C. Schmidt and Son Brewing in 1860. Stop in Wednesday through Sunday and taste a variety of draft and 16-ounce cans of originally brewed beer and tell them the Drunk on Broad crew sent you. Von C. Brewing is located at 1210 Stenbridge Street, Suite 300 in Norristown. Cheers.
Team Clicks are the only glasses for real sports fans. With interchangeable arms, you can support all of your favorite teams, or even make and create custom options as well. These die-hard sports fans have realized that sports fans needed something other than face paint to show their love and passion for their teams. Go to teamclicks.com/DOB and show your love for your hometown team.
La Torrent's curated collection of men's and women's watches is a perfect investment that lasts for years to come and fits perfectly with your every outfit and style. Our range of classic watches aren't just a great perfect formal and casual accessory, but a time machine that takes you back to memories. Explore our collection of timeless watches that can reflect your taste, personality, and personal style. Our exclusive collection of carefully curated, affordable luxury watches is what you need to make a personalized style statement. You can take pride in your prized possession, handing it over to the next generations as your most loved asset that they can also own and display with the same pride. These high-quality pieces stand the test of time, giving exceptional value and return on your investment. Those are locked. Tourain.com and use code DOB at checkout and get 10% off.
If you're looking for unique sports apparel, check out Streaker Sports. They've dug deep into the archives and have brought back some incredible defunct team logos and have even created entire defunct league collections. They also have collections paying homage to sports culture, including the Miracle on Ice, Slap Shot, Caddyshack, the Mighty Ducks, and even have a license with Wiffle Ball and USA Hockey. Only for Drunk on Broad listeners, use code BROAD at checkout to get 10% off anything at streakersports.com. Again, that's 10% off anything at streakersports.com with discount code BROAD.
All right, welcome back to the Fightins. Drunk on the Fightins this morning. It's a little early to be drunk, but we'll take care of that.
The Phillies.
Yeah, the way things have been going.
So listen, around MLB, give me a team and a player that you're pleasantly surprised about.
Arizona Diamondbacks, Corbin Carroll.
Okay, talk about it.
He was one of those top prospects, came up last year. The Diamondbacks have been having, for what I think most people are predicting, having a better season than they would have expected. And Corbin Carroll, I believe I saw yesterday, had an 11-game hit streak going at one point. He's definitely a younger guy who's definitely someone to watch out there. So he's been kind of exciting. We'll actually get to see him. I believe they come to Philly in May 20-something or so. So it'll be cool to see him and all that coming to Philadelphia. So he's kind of been someone that I've been impressed with early on this year.
Kylie, who you got?
For me, I'm probably gonna say Yoshida. Just the transfer from, Japanese baseball to here, it's probably a little different, and so the transition isn't always as immediate. And I mean, we saw what he did in the World Baseball Classic, and I've loved seeing him play. He's been fun to watch.
Yeah, listen, for me, like I'm looking at the AL East, right? One, it surprises me that the Yankees are in last place, right? They're 18 and 16. Tampa is 20 games over 500 this early in the season. But the team to me that's really surprising, right, is Baltimore, right? And a guy like Adley Rutschman, who is just as advertised. And it's great. I think baseball is better when Baltimore is better. Because I feel like that city and that franchise that kind of reshaped and restructured how stadiums are built, right, with Camden Yards. They have a really dedicated fan base that I think just identified that they just basically took a pass for like the last, 8-10 seasons. So to see Baltimore kind of getting back to their roots, they really just kind of made it a point to rebuild the farm system, do it with a lot of young internal talent. And they're fun to watch. It's a stadium that I haven't been to that I'm kind of like on the verge of like want to take like a day trip down there to go to a game. But they're just a fun team to watch. And it's nice to see them come back. It's always good when franchises that were down that are kind of like part of the fabric of baseball, considering all the history that Baltimore has with Cal Ripken and their success in that like late 80s, early 90s, to see them kind of come back and be relevant.
Yeah, they've looked really good. I think I saw they have like the second best record in baseball or something, and they're still 4.5 games. It shows how well Tampa Bay's been playing. But yeah, no, you're right. They're doing it in an exciting way. They have a lot of young guys who are people to watch, definitely. I've seen a couple Orioles fans though already crowning Rutschman as the best catcher in baseball. They still got to wait a couple of years for that. That's still JT. So hang on there, Orioles fans. But you're getting there.
Yeah, I live in Nats and O's country, like smack dab in the middle. And I mean, I can 100% confirm that the Orioles are very passionate about their team. And Camden Yards, you got to go. It's such a nice ballpark. They have good food. There's a lot of historic stuff to see.
Okay.
And I mean, 10 out of 10 ballpark. One of my favorites.
Nice. Very cool. Give me a ballpark that you haven't been to that you want to go to.
Wrigley Field.
Oh, okay. Having just been out to Chicago in November, it's an incredible city. It's definitely and the flight from this area, from the East Coast, like it was an hour and a half flight from Philly.
Yeah.
So
it's not bad.
The flight is nothing. And the city, you can basically like park yourself at the hotel and walk everywhere. It's a great city.
I had to drive through it once.
Oh, okay. Eric, give me a ballpark you haven't been to that you want to go to.
Actually, ironically enough, Coors Field is definitely up there, and the Phillies are going there next weekend. It just didn't work out in the fold, but that's definitely on my list. And also, I think Busch Stadium in St. Louis is another one that would be kind of up there. That looks kind of cool. Wrigley is awesome. It's definitely. I was there about 10, 12 years ago or so.
Okay.
And it's cool just to say, just the historical part of it, and the whole area around Wrigleyville is a fun time. So Chicago is a good city. Very walkable. So definitely a good spot to get out there. But yeah, I would say Coors Field is probably on the top of my list right now.
Cool. I always love I love watching when they play in San Fran. Like
that's an awesome stadium.
Because
that's another one.
That's another one that for me, I'm like, ooh, that's a really cool, just atmosphere, but like cool to be a cool area. And I haven't been out to California, so that's always like a really great place that I'm like, I always get close. Like we have relatives out west. So I'm like, we always get like 3/4 of the way there and then never make it out. But that's cool. All right. Trade deadline is going to come up later in the summer. As of right now, what are the positions of need that you're looking at that you would expect Dombrowski to be able to go out and fill holes? Kind of projecting that like when Harper gets healthy enough, he'll be probably playing first. Maybe. Where are you looking at to kind of fill in the gaps of this roster?
I think first things first is starting pitching. You can never have enough starting pitching depth, and just seeing what we're seeing right now. I think we don't need a top of the line guy, but you need to get like a fourth or fifth guy who can go out there and eat innings. Assuming Wheeler and Nola settle in and Ranger comes back in and is healthy, and you have maybe Painter kind of waiting in the wings there too. Bullpen help is always something to think, is such a volatile position with injuries and people getting sent up and down and everything. So I think that's something Dombrowski always kind of looks at. And I still get nervous about first base because I saw something yesterday. Harper said that they were it isn't field this year. It's kind of not a big deal. So I'm not sure yet if he's actually going to be playing first base, and if that'll be, I don't know if it'll be happening by the trade deadline. So I would not be surprised if they still look for some infield help there, because Sosa's looking a little bit exposed at third base right now. He's got 5 errors already at third base. We saw it the other day with it was scored a hit, but it was really a Sosa error that when Alvarado was pitching. So I'm absolutely no Sosa hate for me, but I think they need to do something because that infield is still just not fully shored up yet.
Yeah, I need Bohm back at third.
Mm-hmm. That he worked so hard to become a better third baseman, and now I feel like that's going to all kind of be for nothing, especially after his struggles earlier on last year and how much better he got there. I like him at first temporarily, but I don't think we want to make this a long-term thing right now.
No, absolutely not.
No, and I think we're all kind of in agreement. I think if you can add somebody at first and really solidify that position, it essentially takes care of 2 positions, right? Because it allows Bohm to go back to his original position. And then pitching is always something that you can add, right? So I just don't want them to be like pulling the guys off the scrap heap like they used to. Like if you can add a legit arm at the back end of the bullpen, they have guys that can throw gas. They have guys that are electric. It's just, can you get a guy that is consistently reliable at the back end of this bullpen? I don't know. I'm curious to see. It doesn't seem like Dombrowski is really shy about spending other people's money, which is great, right? It's not my money. I don't really care. You're spending old cigar money, so that's totally on you. But I really think that they're going to have to. I'm going to give them, like we said, I'm going to give them till the end of June before I start being really critical about the decisions. It doesn't make the day-to-day any less frustrating. But I think for me, I'm going to try to stay patient. I'm going to try to relax. I'm going to try to enjoy it, but I'm not going to stop holding them accountable. I want them to be able to because they have talent on this team. And I think that's why it's so frustrating. They have guys that are legit MLB top of the line guys. They're just not production. And I don't know what that, I don't know whether it's a reach. I don't know what's happening, but I really just need them to save the summer so that it's not the middle of July and we're looking at a team that's 14 games out and like struggling to battle the the rest of the National League for those wild card.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think a hot streak's coming at some point. I think I think that this team, is just kind of, there's a lot of hitters that are slow starters. Like JT is a slow starter, Schwarber's a slow starter. Castellanos has been a pleasant surprise, but I think as you start getting these guys heating up, you're gonna, I think by the time we get to late May, early June, we're gonna start seeing some things turn around. Hopefully by then, starting pitching's healthier. Nola and Wheeler have their acts together and are giving us consistent 6-7 inning appearances here. But yeah, I think I'm with you. I think they need to start doing something sooner rather than later.
Sounds good. Anybody have anything for final thoughts?
Go Phils.
Yeah.
Go Phils. And there are some good things out there. Prospects. There's some interesting things going on in the minor leagues. So while we don't have great, it's been a tough week here in the majors. The minor league teams have been doing really well. I think Clearwater has had like a 10-game winning streak or something like that. They got some guys. There's this guy Orion Kirkering, who has been pitching lights out down there. 22 years old, out of South Florida. He's got, I think, 10 1/3 innings pitched so far, 18 strikeouts already, 1 walk. Another impressive number here, 15% strike or 15 K per 9 rate. And opponents are hitting 0.61 off of him. So he's a name to kind of watch. He could be pretty interesting. The fact he's out of college and he's 22 already means, he's not one of those young guys that are going to have to kind of pamper. I don't see him, making an impact, this year or maybe even next year. But that's a name that we might see starting to rise to the organization a little bit because he's got some nasty stuff.
Nice. Listen, go Phillies, go Sixers. We need to get it together. But Kylie, we got a question for you before we jump out of here. What's for breakfast, Kylie?
I'm at work.
What's the special today?
Is
it special the Grand Slam breakfast?
Yes, it is.
There we go. Well, everybody, we appreciate everybody coming on. Kylie, thank you for jumping on, even if you're jumping on at work. We'll definitely kind of link up and get something together. The live show at the Drunk Phil's garage was a great time. I'm sure that probably won't be the first. It's the first, but definitely won't be the last time. Great guys over there. They really do. They put together a really cool community of Phil's fans. So shout out to them. Go Philly today. Boston sucks. Yep. Fuck the Dropkick Murphys. Everything Boston. Forget that. We're it's all Philly today. Kylie, you got another squad. You got your Devil squad playing. They gotta get it together. It's gonna be a busy multi-screen kind of day today. So listen, everything's good. We'll check in with everybody later. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll check back with you next week. Peace.
See ya.
See ya.
This is the Broad Street Line, where Philly sports fans leave all of their sports hot takes. Call 267-405-3062 and show us your passion for Philly sports. Don't forget to tune in every Wednesday at 8:30 when we listen to your live reactions to the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat.
Swinging a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2